Welcome everybody. This is Activities Across Grade Levels, and today we're going to talk about performance assessment. So I hope that your July has been a good one. We took a bit of a break since our last one, but we have 16 episodes on all sorts of things, building rapport, using Zoom, all sorts of good ideas, and they're on the webinars page. Because you went to the trouble of registering, dig you, pat on the back, you'll get an email that says, here's how to get to those. So you can get back to all of the recordings. And when I send that email, I will have uploaded this recording. So if it's worthy of being shared, feel free to do that. So with that, let's kind of jump in. Thank you for being part of this. We hope that you'll get some good ideas. And then if you like it, you'll even share word about what we're doing with others. And speaking of you, thank you particularly, right? So taking a little time out of your summer to spend a little time talking about performance assessment, because I know that's what you woke up excited about today. Admit it. All right, so all good there. We also want to thank the good folks in Fowler USD. Let's hear it for Fowler. Yeah! And that has to do in part because my partner in crime on this is Susan Stewart, who is part of the Fowler team. Before we get to her and our introductions though, a thanks to Richard Byrne, who shares information about what we're doing in his widely read blog and mailings. He and I also do a little shindig called Two EdTech Guys Take Questions and Share Cool Stuff. Bit of a mouthful. But we restart that next week. So next week at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern, also on Thursday, we will be doing our little fun bit there. It is genuinely designed to be both fun and useful to you. So if you have questions about things and you're like, I need people to answer these questions, send them to us. How do we do that? Well, there's a lot of ways to do it. And one way to do it is via the Contact Us page at nextvista.org. So feel free to go there and find that. All right, so we're happy to meet you. We're happy you're here. And you can meet us. Susan, talk about yourself.
Hi, hello. Welcome everyone. My name is Susan Stewart. I'm an instructional technology teacher on special assignment. I call myself a tech coach in Fresno, California. I work in a teeny tiny district called Fowler, where I serve 125 fabulous teachers in teaching and learning online. I have 3 beautiful kids, and before my role as tech coach, I spent 14 years teaching kindergarten and 2nd grade.
Excellent. My name is Rushton. I am a former high school teacher. I taught Japanese language. I was then a principal of a K-12 school and then an online high school. And then 15 years ago, I started nextvista.org, a free library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere. And I hope you will give it a look as we go. My wife and I have 2 beautiful cats and no children, and that's just fine for us, actually. You know, it's all right. I'm just saying. All right. So anyway, nextvista.org, loads of videos about academic topics that you run across, about communities around the world, about service to others, about careers, a big old library of videos for English language learners, because it's cool to have a big free language learning library if you're trying to pick up English. And also even like advice in our Hey You project. If you're like, what, advice for teens? Yes, interesting people of all kinds of backgrounds saying, here's what I would tell my 16-year-old self. So if that's intriguing to you, then by all means, stay in touch with me. So this is kind of what our page looks like. It's the kind of thing you see, you know, with the academics and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And let's talk about how this is going to work today. So activities across grade levels is where we take any particular idea and we say, what does that idea look like in terms of online learning for the youngest group, the K-2 crowd? What does it look like for upper elementary? What does it look like for middle school? What does it look like for high school? And that's how we're going to jump into this. And so with that, let's get to the young'uns. And Susan, I hand it over to you to get it started.
All righty, of course. So we talked there about that term performance assessment. Like, what does that even mean? Oftentimes, you know, it's about taking a look at what kids do, maybe not through just your traditional fill in the answers, multiple choice kind of assessment. We want an assessment that measures their performance, right? Something hopefully a little bit more unique to that child. Oftentimes in the early years, assessment is a lot of recognition. A lot of assessment happens in primary grades, just one-on-one. So I might sit with a student and have them read to me one-on-one. I might have a list of words or letters and just have them tick them off, recognize, right? Early years like that. When I'm measuring assessments with young learners online, I'm trying to think about ways I could have them demonstrate their understanding, but in this digital format. So one way I do that is with Seesaw. Now, if you hung out with us before at all, you know I love Seesaw, especially in the early years. Basic way for kids to show what they know and record it. But did you know that there's these additional features of Seesaw that help with assessment? The skill tagging features that I've got shown here on the screen are a way that I can actually use a rubric type feature in Seesaw where I can go in and put something out there. So in the activity itself, and actually, Rushton, can I go ahead and drive for a second?
Do it.
Let me go ahead. Oh, but I need a button for that.
Do you?
Just a sec. I want to show you. I'd love to stop and show you how that works, because I think just really seeing that happen and just seeing some of those extra features within Seesaw would be a great way for you to do that. There we go. Let me go hit the button. Oh, it still says disabled. So you're going to have a little button that says
no longer. It's ready to go. Give it a shot.
There we go. Awesome. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. You should see my Seesaw classroom. And when I look at some of these assessments, you see here, this is a sight word assessment. A sight word assessment, of course, measures that, right? I want to hear the student reading sight words. And if you've seen this before, Seesaw, they can play it. You can hear what they do. But more exciting, here's this skills feature. When I click on the skills feature down here in the corner, it allows me to measure it and just keep track of their progress. So I click the skills button and it allows me to go tag a standard or a skill and mark success. I'm going to do it again with another one. In this example, it's a reading fluency assessment. You see, I have a recording of the student as they are reading a passage aloud. I want to listen for fluency. I want to listen for, their word recognition. I can click the skills button and I can say, oh, there it is. That's reading fluency. And when I click the reading fluency option, I can say, oh, whether, some kind of rubric scoring system, and I can measure their performance there and score it. And the cool thing about this particular feature in Seesaw, Rushton, is that I can track that over time. So if I go back to a particular student and I look at that, I can actually see several times in a row, if there's a pattern of success, or maybe that identifies an area where I can continue to support that learner. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to those slides because I'd love to show another example. This is where we're trading screens and getting well, there we go. So in upper elementary, we can do something very similar with familiar tools. I want to be able to have students actually do something, right? Perform. I want to see their actual work, not just what they wrote on a page, but what they've created. And another way to do that is with this tool, Flipgrid. And again, if you've spent time with us, I love Flipgrid as a way to quickly record and share what students know. Not just seeing the answer on paper, but hearing them explain their thought process. If you know the mathematical practices, right, the standards for mathematical practice, we know we want students to construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. That's one of those standards. How can I capture that? Well, a video tool like Flipgrid allows me to do that. And Flipgrid can capture that learning, but it also has a custom feedback button. Within that custom feedback, I can go into the settings of Flipgrid and I can do that. And since we're in here, I might as well just demonstrate what that looks like. When I assign something from the Flipgrid library, of course, it's going to be silly. Here we go. This is why you don't do it this way. Here we go. Awesome. Fabulous. So I can go ahead and assign this to my students. And I take one of these ones already made. And when I go to add that, there's some special features within Flipgrid that make this a great assessment. One is this ability for me to have it moderated. Over here, you see there's the moderation feature. That means I can have students submit this and they have that awareness that other friends aren't going to see it yet, right? This is a private thing. It's an assessment. Maybe they're a little intimidated to show that aloud, but they know that it's going to be moderated. So I can turn on video moderation. So it's not a public video, it's an assessment video. And another part of that makes this great for assessment lets me go down here and there's some basic feedback, but another one of the settings allows me to give custom feedback. And much like in Seesaw, I can go through and create my own rubric. So within Flipgrid, I can create a performance rubric, determine specific success criteria there and show that off. So that's another way I can use that with my upper elementary students. So a final example I have, and I just want to make you aware of this. This is one of the newest ones, Rushton, and this is really exciting. The embedded rubric in Google Classroom. The fact that I can add a rubric, customize it. I know it's been there, but the way it just so seamlessly works in the classroom grading features now, right? The fact that I can have a student writing and I can go in and I can identify the success criteria right there within Google Classroom, and I can label it, I can give point values. All of that is really, really, really awesome because I can actually measure their performance. I'm not just plopping a grade on it, but I can measure it by specific success criteria.
You know, before we leap back into the slide and put you on the spot a bit, a lot of the people who will watch this are kind of in a space of like, hey, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to be able to show things well on my screen to my students this, you know, when things start this fall. You are zooming in on part of your browser window. Can you describe a little bit about how you're doing that?
So that is a feature within my MacBook. And if you'd like me to do it, let me go ahead and go. We might blow back up here. Here we go,
Sure.
back and forth, that one there. So different devices have different buttons, right? And within my MacBook, one thing I do is I click and I just am able to zoom it in. I use a pinch feature within my MacBook, and that's all I do on my device. I just do a quick zoom, and it's just a little pinch in and out, and that allows me to zoom in on a specific feature. And it is nice because when you're working in this situation, you know, they're looking on their teeny tiny screen sometimes. The fact that I can zoom in and out allows me to get a focus point. So I can say, okay, guys, let's go ahead and type this in here. So for my device, it really is just a pinch, zoom in and out, just like that.
Nice. And can you mimic that by doing like a command plus or command minus, or on a PC or a Chromebook, maybe a control plus and control minus? Will that work as well?
Yeah, so if I want to do it on a particular website, I can do, I use the command plus plus, and that will include, oh, where's that button? Here we go. That increases it within the browser. So the browser will increase that way too. And that zooms within my browser. That's another way to do it for sure. So if I want to zoom out or zoom in, I use the command and plus plus or command and minus minus, and I can always go back up there. And if I want to, I can reset that. So I can reset it. Sometimes we zoom something in and we don't know how to get it back. So I can always reset my browser back to 100% there as well.
And added bonus for all of you watching, if you find that you are in a browser and things have been like zoomed way out or way out, something like that, Command 0 will take you back to 100%. Control 0 will do that as well. So that is a very nice little thing to know as you are thinking about keyboard shortcuts. Now, who on earth would like zoom something way out just to mess with you? Oh, wait, we've made it to middle school. So let's kind of look at some of this. Now thinking about some of the things that middle schoolers might do with performance assessment, I want to first emphasize that the kind of things we were talking about a minute ago with the younger ages, these still apply, right? Like Flipgrid is a fantastic assessment tool. You've got choices about like, can people see each other's stuff initially, things like that. And that a student would have to be able to like, okay, it is now my time to like record myself, you know, and respond to this thing about what I've been asked to do. And if they don't like what they just did, they can say redo it, which means they're getting better at what they do. I like that about digital media, that it kind of forces them to up their game a bit with regard to what they're doing. It prompts them to up their game a bit with regard to what they're doing.
Encourages.
Yeah. So one of the first things I want to talk about with this is formative assessment, right? Because we're talking about performance assessment really as kind of a summative idea. And one of the things that I hear a lot of teachers say is like, well, how do I keep them from cheating on a multiple choice test online? You know. So the question really is the multiple choice test a good test? Does it really help them learn? Do they remember this later? Are they making connections? And you're like, oh my God, don't like whip that philosophy on me. We kind of have to when we're talking about online learning. So when we talk about something like trying to get people in space, you know, think about multiple choice as a formative tool, right? So that there's no incentive to cheat. And there are a lot of ways to do this. I'm particularly impressed with a lot of the things that are available, you know, in terms of help online. And so, you know, when I talk about this, I said, well, Google Form, what if you're kind of new to Google Form? I've got a link here for you for Eric Kurtz's tutorial on forms. Oh my God, he has loads and loads of information. He's like this wildly kind of nice, patient guy who explains things, right? So that is certainly something you might want to follow on. SurveyMonkey is out there. You can even do polling in Zoom. And if you are participating in the recording, and after we finish recording, you want to see that in motion, I'll be happy to show you. I included a tutorial from the Zoom folks about that as well. So let's jump in though specifically to performance assessment. Okay, so here we are, we got middle schoolers, and what we want is for them to show that they're able to handle things. Is there kind of a general format for doing that? Well, one way to do it is to think in terms of screencasting. Now, some of you might be like, oh yeah, sure. And others are like, wait, I've heard the term but. So a video is a set of visuals with audio connected, right? So you can have a video that is somebody recording something where they're recording the visuals and the audio at the same time. But it could also be like, say, visuals could be something on your screen and you're narrating as you go. That is one kind of screencast, right? So there's a little screencastify extension to Chrome that I'm a big fan of. I will say that there are plenty of other screencasting tools, right? Screencast-O-Matic is one. If you have older machines and you need to download something, that's a good tool. QuickTime, if you're on Macs, QuickTime has a screen recording feature in it. A lot of people are like, what? It's there? Yes. And even Zoom. Zoom is actually a good tool, right? So what you can do is you can say record, share screen, and describe what you're doing. You don't have to have anybody else in the room, right? You can just be explaining something as you go. So there's a lot of screencasting tools. So you might say, okay, well, show me how this works if you would. Happy to do so. So I think what I will do is I will shift ever so slightly to another space over here, right? And let's share that. And so here, for example, are some slides from a recent presentation I gave. And when I go up here to the Screencastify extension at screencastify.com, there's a little add to Chrome. You click on that, it takes you to the web store. You click add to Chrome, right? And when I click on it, what it does is it says, okay, how do you want to record this stuff? And they got the microphone set. I see the little green there. So like, I know it's hearing me. I can embed my webcam in the little corner. You've seen these kinds of things before, or you can leave it out, whatever floateth thy boat. So if I click record, I can say, all right, so this is getting lessons started in person or online, and there's lots of images and they're from legal sources because we should be using things legally and citing our sources, and that's important. And thank you to the Global EdTech Academy and all the cool things that they've put out there, aka.ms/get-a-schedule. And thank you, et cetera, et cetera. Once I'm done, I can click up here and say, that's about it. Or not even say all of that stuff before I get there. What it does is immediately leap over into Drive, all right, or this space where what I can do is trim it down, anything like that. Copy the shareable link to turn that in. I can share it to Classroom as a teacher so it becomes a resource that way. But what it is it's in Drive. So adding the Screencastify extension to Chrome creates a Screencastify folder in Drive where all of these things will live. And so you can quickly create these videos. So I just created a video. Is it what I'm going to use? Well, of course not. It was kind of lame. But on the other hand, it's just easy to bring these things together quickly. Now, if we think about that, we can quickly get back to the idea of, all right then, if we're trying for performance assessment and what kids are doing is they're asked, for example, to put some slides together or just to do their webcam. You can do that in Screencastify as well. They can create these videos, immediately click on copy link, and then turn that in. So you say 60 seconds or less, explain what? Well, I've got down here like a framework for that. So whatever the topic is, they should be able to say what it is. Well, it is this, right? If you really want to take it somewhere, what are the common misconceptions? So if you're explaining how to do a piece of math, for example, here and blah, 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 when you do it this way, it messes up for this reason. That's a great thing. And ideally, even connections to other things they're learning. And so you might say, well, 60 seconds doesn't seem very long for a test. If you've got it focused on discrete topics, that's okay, right? And this is one of those shifts, because if you say, all right, everybody, you can have 5 minutes, to record this. Oh my God, 5 minutes? What if you have, say, 120 kids? That's 10 hours of work, if I did my math correctly, and I'm not sure I did, but still, right? That kind of thing, right? You end up with something that can be a little crazy. So on the other hand, if what you want to do is say, all right, well, I'm going to have 120 kids do 30-second pieces or 60-second pieces with this very specific thing. I just want them to show they have mastered. That's the point of testing, to show they've mastered something. It doesn't all have to be one big test on paper, blah, 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 Scantron, whatever. Like, they just need to show they've learned it, that they can draw connections and hopefully identify when things go wrong. So in doing this, by the way, the recordings can be quite useful for the difference between making a presentation and being kind of frightened about doing that, and having just a video where they got a chance to really make it work well. But in terms of the scary nature of making presentations to others, why don't we just move on to high school and performance assessment? Because while this still applies, and all of these things could apply to high school as well, doing presentations is actually a very good way for you to get into the space of, like, we're going to do assessments. My capstone projects for my spring group in the class I was teaching, which is Creative Solutions for the Global Good. Very proud of that class and that name. Anyway, what they did was they'd been working on projects all year, and so we spent a huge chunk of the last part of the semester really getting into what does it mean to present this well, and talking through that and doing it over and over and over again with each other. And you say, that takes a lot of time. Yes, but they learn it. And they learn how to do it well if you hold their feet to the fire on this kind of stuff, right? Where they learn, you're telling them, no, you didn't cite your source on that thing. All right, now when you do that, you could say it this way. And the more they practice it, the more it really sinks in as a lesson. We can cover far more stuff without them learning anything. And I don't think that's the goal, right? See, look, lots of grades. That's not the point. The point is what they learn and what they remember. And even though they're going to look back at this time and say, okay, that was a time when, yeah, pandemic, et cetera, this can also be a time when what you ask them to do is something that lives in their memory. Yeah, I made this presentation and my teacher invited a bunch of people in. And so we had other people from the school and parents were involved and things like that. This is stuff that they will remember, and they care about doing it well when the audience has changed. So just several pieces on this. In terms of getting them going, I have a thing called the 2-slide presentation. The 2-slide presentation will force a copy of that, and we'll get that link in the links page that we share. When I send you the email later, you'll have this like, okay, here you go. Here's the recording. Here's the links page. Here are the slides. All of the stuff that we do for you. You guys are so nice. Thanks. When we look at that, it's like, all right, this is just 2 slides. It's one image that you have to get from a Creative Commons licensed source or Unsplash or something like that, where it's legally available to you. And then you tell why you chose that image. That's it. And then the idea there is to just practice a process, because the more you get people familiar with a process, the more you can use that to higher and higher academic ends as you go. You can also say that part of the assignment is the outline, right? Or the script, right? A practice run where others in the class, connect, and you connect in groups. Maybe you're doing breakout rooms in Zoom, whatever it may be, where they have to come up with substantive advice for the person. And they learn to give and get feedback. So someone tells them something like, I think it would be far better if you did this, this, and this. And they're thinking, that's an awful idea. What they learn is to say, thank you. Right? And maybe as a part of the process, that idea is recorded. The person typed it in and sent it, to them, through a form, or maybe, you type in what they tell you, whatever it may be. But once you've got that, you can then explain, I'm using this advice for this reason. I'm not using this advice for that reason. And once you are telling those things, you're really getting to a far better place about deciding what it is that you want to use and why. Time limits are still a very good idea for the reasons I explained before. There are some great sources out there for legally usable media in presentations if you're using visuals. So I included the Creative Commons search link there as well. And if you want to practice that stuff, which you should have people say, all right, use a screencasting tool to record yourself as you go. And then you can show it to other members, and then they give you feedback again, and you go through that process. And you say, well, I'm not going to be able to cover as much. That's right. But if you cover several things, if you cover the top tier things well, and you assess it in such a way that they truly remember it, then you come out ahead, which is the idea. All righty. So as we think about these different things that we do, remember who we are as teachers, whether you're like, oh my God, I'm about to start this semester online. Well, don't worry, it can work. If you are the caring, stable adult who says, hey, It's going to be all right. And we're going to learn some things together, and we're doing it a little different way, and that's fine. Remember that just like the bus driver that picks up these kids first thing in the morning, you may be the first adult that smiles at them, right? A lot of kids, you know, they don't get everything at home they should. And so if you're getting ready to start a class in Google Meet or Zoom or whatever it may be, you know, and you're like, hey, I'm glad you're here, that can go a long way. So we care for our students, right? We care for their learning. In order to do this right, in order to have, you know, be in the right mood to do this stuff, we got to care for ourselves. So please take good care of yourself as you go as well. I'm going to encourage you in the note that I send out to sign up for the newsletter. If you have never signed up for my newsletter, man, you are overdue. So please do so. You can win a Starbucks card actually by looking at that newsletter and just saying, hey, check it out. There's an offer here to do this, but I'll bet lots of people do it. They don't. Why? I have no idea, but they don't. So feel free. So I'm happy to like have you like not only sign up for the newsletter, but go in and take a look and win the ones that I'm giving away. All right, so I've got a blog, I've got writing out there, you know, books for teachers and school leaders as well. I hope that these things, you know, are things you'll take a look at. But there are some questions you may have that we're going to answer after we finish the recording. That's what we stick around to do, to be able to just see what you might have to say. But also, I want to do this. I want to hand it back to Susan because we've got a very cool event to tell you about as well. So Susan, talk about yourself a little bit more, and then let's move forward a slide and talk about that cool thing. And
you can hear me now.
yes.
So this whole concept of, you know, performance assessment and assessment and formative assessment, all those assessment conversations, it really is shifting. Right now, we're in this virtual environment, this virtual learning environment, and it's a reminder that how we measure success, really, it could take all kinds of different formats. I had a really interesting learning experience the other day myself. I was doing a session just like this with some teachers, and we were practicing quizzes. And I noticed I gave my attendees this quiz on quizzes, and they bombed one of the questions. And I realized in a moment right there, formative assessment matters so much because I could, boom, right there on the spot reteach. So these conversations about formative assessment, performance assessment, and just assessment in general, gosh, I can't wait till the conversation switches and we talk about performance assessment being that centerpiece, right? Not just that multiple choice test. But again, I'm Susan, just really excited to share with you and be a part of these ongoing conversations about changing and how this new education system looks, right? It's all so different, but want to get a hold of me? I'm Tech Coach Susan on the internet, and you can find me under the hashtag K2Can2 because I really do believe that our littlest learners can do way more than they often get credit for. And K2Can2, by the way, is becoming a virtual summit. August 15th and 16th, we are having 2 days of learning designed especially for those teachers of our littlest learners. If you met Coach Ben, he was here a while back talking about what he's done with some of his kids through Zoom and Google Meet, but you can find out more. Join us, k2can2.com. Learn more about this event, 2 days event of sessions, lots of elementary K2 primary experience presenters sharing what they've learned through this time and just their years of experience in early childhood education. So I'm really excited. Spread the word, k2can2.com. Join us for our 2-day event just for little learners.
Cool. And while we're doing shout outs, by the way, hashtag Opportunity Haywood. You're like, what's that? It's like, it keeps popping up in the chat by different people who are joining us. So I'm like, cool, you guys are putting it out there. Hashtag Opportunity, HAYWOOD. Hashtag Watch Us Grow. You guys get out there and do amazing things. That's really cool that you're adding that. My name is Rushton Hurley. I'm former teacher, former principal, nonprofit guy, and I'm married up, or at least I like to think so. And what you might want to know about our little recording here is that next week, our topic is going to be first day of school. So if you're like, that's what I need, right? Then great, join us, right? And you'll register in the same place that you registered for this one. We're planning the following week to do one on fake news, which could be good fun, especially with the across grade levels part of that. So feel free to sign up for that, sign up for the Two EdTech Guys webinar, and get in there in that newsletter and win the cards I'm giving away. That would be a good thing. We are very happy for you to join us. We hope that you have gotten some good ideas out of it. I am about to stop this recording, But when I do, we're going to keep talking to all of these cool people who are joining us live. So if you are watching the recording, thank you very much for joining us. We hope we will see you next week.